Okay, so I am back. So I've currently got to open the old inventory widget. So what I was thinking of trying at the moment is actually go through the recreating of the weapon stats sort of section here. So as a quick breakdown, if we actually look at what it comprises of, so we have the title there at the top, and then we have 3 sections here with a name, and then there's kind of like a progress bar. There is technically 2, although I don't think we need 2. Because I believe each of them was for the different types of ammos. But yeah, I don't think we need that. And then we have the sort of division section here. And then lastly underneath we kind of have a section here that kind of just displays the amount of ammo, well, the ammo types that the particular weapon supports. So I was thinking of sort of recreating this particular widget here. Now, the first thing I kind of want to look at actually is these little progress bars here. So looking at this, the only thing that's actually different between these is the name. So this is kind of a good candidate for creating a base widget just for these particular sections here. Because at the moment, the way that it's set up is we have them all set up inside of here. We can find them. So we got that one. Yeah, so we essentially have 3 of the same sort of things inside here. So obviously that's going to get quite difficult to manage and maintain, particularly if we decide there's additional stats we want to include. So I think the first thing to probably do is kind of recreate that specific widget so we can kind of reuse it and just change the name. So let's start by creating a user widget. I am using Common UI, so I'm just going to use the Common User widget. For this particular thing, it probably doesn't matter that much, to be honest, but yeah. So I'm going to call this one I'm just going to call it progress bar. Although probably let's put named in front of it. Why not? Okay, so let me just close some of these. Okay, yeah, so just like that. So yeah, so the first thing we'll probably want to start with is a horizontal box, like so, and then we can drop in a text. Text box. Now, if you are actually using Common UI, it would make more sense to use the common text. At the moment though, nothing's really set up to use it, so I'm just going to use a standard text box for now. It may be something that we go through and update at a later date. Common text, just in case you're not aware, it kind of allows you to specify an actual style. So you can have multiple things use the same style and it'll automatically update and apply that style to everything that uses that particular style. So it can be quite nice to use in a lot of places. That way, if you want to update, kind of like a blanket update on everything, it kind of helps facilitate that. But for now, I'm just going to use a normal text box. But as I said, if you are using Common UI, it does make sense to use it. Okay, so I do apologise. You can hear a lot of pitter-pattering in the background. I am currently dog sitting, so got an extra set of paws walking around. Anyway, yeah, so we've got the text box there. Now, we'll look back at here. So we've got the progress bar that we need and then the divisions as well. So for that, how do I want to do that? So we'll start with an overlay, because they do kind of need to occupy the same space. And then we'll add the progress bar. And then I want to add another horizontal box. Although in this case, I'm just going to use this smart horizontal box. Just because this is one that I've already set up to automatically apply the various paddings and stuff. So now I'm just updating the fill on them. And change that to desired as well. Let's just go for custom for now. So I do want to just set that to something wider. I want to try and use these to fill. Not sure how that's gonna. That would fill. Okay. Fine there. And then let's add some padding to the right on this side. 16 should probably be sufficient. What I am then going to do is I'm actually just going to open up the text display and just copy the font data and just apply it to this. That's just so there's some consistency there in terms of how how it looks. I believe that's the same one, size 12. That one is size 14. So I'll go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. Oh, did I update the wrong one? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. I updated the wrong one. That one should be size 12. That's also size 12. It's that one that's size 40, so it's progress bar. Make sure I updated that one. So let's close the text display so I don't accidentally do that again. Okay, so I've got the horizontal box here, and let's go ahead and add the segments that we want on there. So I was going to use I'm just going to use an image. Nothing on there. See if we can possibly duplicate some of the brush settings and bring those over. Tint over to the color overlay possibly. That still doesn't look right. Actually, it might be. I think it might actually be the progress bar that's, yeah, it's messing us up a little bit there. Right then, so we do actually have that on there. So this is just images. How many do we need? So 1, 2, so that's 5 of them. So I'm just going to duplicate these. Okay, so that's 5 of those. I do want to make sure these are set to fill. And then for this, just update the horizontal box. That does the padding there. Padding is currently set to 8. I would imagine that's probably a little bit too high. Yeah, so the padding on there is just 1. So let's try and just reduce it to 2. Okay. Now I do want to quickly create a widget that we can actually place a few of these in. So let's actually create the weapon stats widget. Although as I think about it, we'll probably want to make a base class. So again, common user widget. Let's call this one widget. Should I think about it? I wonder if we can reuse this one. Possibly not. We'll just have a background and some other effects. Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't look like I'm going to have to make a new one. But yeah, I was thinking a new base class, and this can be used for any widgets that would display on that right-hand side. So widget, I'll call it item data secondary base here. So this is for the secondary layer of data, as it were. And on this, I'm just going to add a function on there called update data. And just add a function on there, so item base. And we'll just call it item, just so we've got that available on all the child widgets. I'm not going to bother adding anything in here, because we'll add those in the child. I don't think there's anything that we need across all of them. So item data secondary base, and this would be the item data, second, IDS, and then it'll be weapon. I'll do weapon stats. And if we look at this, we've got the title at the top, and then we've got some more things in there. So this is where we can get the I don't know what it's called. The data display one. And we've got this body slot here we can add something to. So I'm going to do a vertical box. And then we should be able to add the named progress bars to that. And we can hopefully see how that's going to look. So already we can see that looks terrible. So it looks like it's all been bunched together there. Okay. Not centered either, so that needs to be, yeah, so we need that to fill. Do that to fill as well. So that looks new. This starting to look a little bit better, but I do need to, just a quirk of the horizontal box. Unfortunately, with it being blueprint only, it doesn't actually update. So I do just need to manually call the update function. Okay, so we are getting the divisions in there now. Oh, this is probably rather large. So let's go for let's try for desired for now, see what that looks like. Now for the display at the top, just have it listed as weapon stats, so we'll just update that. Again, on the main image, it did have it left justified, so let's go for that as well. Now, in terms of the colour, it is showing us white in here, but I did have a quick test, and it does actually change the colour to yellow, like a yellowy orangey colour. So I'm actually going to copy that as well. So grab that from here, I think. That does help it feel a little bit more like a heading, as it were. Now, I can't actually add any padding to this vertical box, but I can add a padding to the top one, just to bring it away from that top edge there a little bit. And if we duplicate, it does leave us some space. So we've got the 3 there, so that's a start. Now, this here does look like it's a lot thinner than the other ones, so let's see. Use the image size. Okay, so it is actually set to fill, but there's a padding on there. So let's see if we can add that on the progress bar as well. See if that helps. Now I do believe because of that we do need to shrink the size of this down. That doesn't seem to have helped. Yeah, so the reason I'm thinking about this is just to try and make sure that it looks as close to the original as possible. Of course, there are going to be some slight differences just because of the way the layout gets put. So if we were to remove, yes, that's fill as well. Let's fill with padding. When I actually added padding there, it just made it wider. Not really what I wanted. There we go. So I'm just going to add a padding of 4 just so it's even numbers. Let's make it a little bit more consistent. And then I'm going to remove the padding from the left and the right. And then we'll quickly check see how that looks. So it's starting to look a little bit better now. So there's not really any particular divisions or anything there. Okay, so the next thing we kind of need to look at is the actual progress bar itself. So let's just double check the colours that we used. So we have a green one and a yellow one. So I assume the yellow was probably the main one. I think the green one was, the intention was to show secondary damage for the different ammo types, which possibly not the best way to handle it. But we can readdress that later. So add that colour in. Let's increase the amount. And the progress bar is nowhere to be seen. Thing here. Why is it not visible? Oh, because I hit it. Now, unfortunately, just by clearing this, you do get this bit of an edge I'm not too happy about. Let's see what we can do to sort that out. So I kind of want the background itself to actually be completely transparent. So the only thing we're interested in is the actual fill. So let's set to 4. And then we'll see if fill image. It's currently set to box, so I'm going to set to none. No, it's not the one. Image, now. A rounded box, possibly. Then we'll do fixed radius. And if we set the outline colour to the same, that might fill it in. Ever so slightly. There's still a little something on there, isn't there? Here as well. I guess we'll leave it. Would have liked that to be a little bit more solid. But I guess as you zoom out, you're not really going to notice. Okay. Let's just set that to 0.5. So we can see what it looks like. So in the weapon stats, that's how we go in there. Now, the next thing we'll probably want to do, I'm just going to close the base class now. So for the named progress bar, we do want to update the text. So that name text box, and we probably want to update that on here as well. So do set text. Now I don't think we'll need to update the names dynamically, so I'm just going to add a name here, text. Make that instance editable. So what I did there is just add a default value, so that way we know it needs to be set. So if we go here, click on it, we do have that field now on there. So we've got damage, rate of fire, and recoil. So we'll just type those in. Damage, rate of fire, and then recoil. Okay, so now you're probably noticing that these progress bars are actually different sizes, which isn't really what we want. So let's see if we can change with the fill settings up here a little bit. So set the text to fill. That should hopefully have it set to use the same amount of size. And then the end one, we'll set to fill as well. We'll set this for the text to be 0.5, and then we'll see how that looks. So they're not particularly great, but they are lining up. So let's see what else we can do. So let's just set that back to 1. It does feel better. So it could just be that we need to have the size, as in the width, bigger. So that does sort of work, but then we end up with a really weird section here. So let's go back to desired. Let's try it where we actually specify. So we'll write the text in a size box, and then we can just override the width. So we kind of want a reasonable length. So let's go 256 for now, so we can see how that looks. That does look a lot cleaner. So we have that consistent size across the board. 256 might be a little bit much, so let's just try dropping that a little bit. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do actually is actually just expose that to a variable, so text width. Do the width override. Then we'll put that to a variable. And again, we can make that instance editable. Tidy up. We just need to set the default value here. So 192. So that'll kind of be its default value. But now if we go into here, we do have an option there to kind of change that, so we can sort of tweak it a little bit. I say we can tweak it a little bit. Not sure why that's not updating. Let me have a quick check. It should be. Width override. Override. I just wonder if it's a widget not updating issue. So it does actually seem to be sort of updating. It looks like it's affected by the fill that we have there. So if we have it just to horizontally justify to the left, then it seems to be updating accordingly. But we'll go ahead and set that to auto and do it as fill. And we'll see that as the default there. Just double check to make sure there's no other issues here. So I guess really, actually, it's probably the fact that that's still set to fill. So set that to auto. That's probably going to adjust it. Yeah, okay, there we go. So actually set that to 128. That seems to be a slightly better number we can use there. It does unfortunately mean the whole thing does collapse down a little bit, but let's see if we can just update the horizontalness of these just to bring it out a little bit. Again, this is just kind of like the smallest that it would kind of be, but if we've got this set to fill, we'll try and fill more space where required. So this one is the need progress bar, so that's for the damage. And then we have this one, which is the fire rate. And then this one again, which is the recoil. So just exposing these as variables just means that we can update those when we need to. So there should be a function in here. Remember, this is what we set up in the child. So what we can do is cast to the weapon class, and we can get the power, and then there's the recoil. Now, I don't think it has an option to get the actual base, just because we do have a modifier there based on the ammo type, so we probably do need to add a quick one for the actual recoil as well. So get recoil, and for this we just want to return the base recoil amount. Amount pure, and then in here I'm actually just going to replace the recoil that we have here with the new getter function. And again, the reason we use it as a getter function is because it kind of allows us to potentially modify what that value is in any child blueprints if we really wanted to. Chances are we might not need to, but for something as simple as this setup, it kind of gives you that option later. Okay, so now we've got that one, we can do the get recoil, and then the other one is the fire rates. So ultimately they're the two things that we need to update there.